Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Well, I think I might as well get started. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. Nice to have a nice audience. I've been practicing law for years. I'm basically an estate planner. I'm a certified elder law attorney. And I do a lot of talking about annuities, Medicaid, estate planning with IRAs, but I never ever thought I would be talking about when to start taking Social Security benefits. But several things happened. A, I got old. B, a lot of my clients got old, and started asking questions, and of course, also, in that bracket now, people looking at Social Security, I found it kind of really, really interesting. There's a lot more to Social Security than meets the eye, as far as planning. And I think so the big question becomes, when do we start taking Social Security? Because one of the big concerns, since mine and many of the clients I talk to, is we don't want to outlive our retirement money. My family, the average Wolff, and this goes way back to my grandfather, lives to be 89. So we have longevity in the family. So when I'm looking down the road, we want to put a plan in place to hopefully achieve a reasonable retirement. Now, Social Security, when enacted, was simply meant to be a base for our retirement program, and it still is. But and to me, the way I understand it, because I'm a simple farm boy from Washington County, is I look at it as an annuity. The government has taken my money and they have basically provide to me a life annuity which is unique. First of all, it's a joint annuity, so if I'm married, my wife has the opportunity to continue my benefits. Also, it's indexed for inflation. So if I were to go into the marketplace, it'd be very, very difficult for me to purchase the same annuity. And I think when you start looking at it that way, it makes it a lot easier looking at when to take Social Security, how to take it, and some of the various things that we can do with Social Security. Now, one of the big questions that come up, and I have clients really concerned, in fact, several weeks ago, my client, a long-term friend and client named Jimmy, came rolling into my office and said, "Bob, we were talking about retirement, but we were talking about his assets," and he, in the means of conversation, said, "I'm going to start taking my Social Security," because he turned 62. Because an insurance agent had stopped by his office and said, "Hey, Jimmy, you're 62. You can start taking tax-free income." And that had Jimmy's full attention. Well, it's not necessarily tax-free, but in discussing with him, and of course his other concern was, because he was told this, is that Social Security is going to go broke. My personal opinion, for us baby boomers, the people coming into it, I just can't see our federal government defaulting on Social Security. Maybe the people further down the line may not get something, but for those who are in the striking distance, I'm talking tonight, and basically probably people who were born in 1940 up to the 1950s, I just can't see the United States. So basically where I was at is, I don't think Social Security is going to default on paying us benefits. In fact, if they did, I think the least of my concerns is I'm not getting a Social Security check, the chaos. So with regard to that, I would not be overly concerned. So when can we retire? What is the earliest retirement date we can take? Well, for most of us, it's going to be 62. That's the magic date. But one thing to keep in mind, if we choose this election, and if you're born in 1943 or between 1943 and 1954, you're going to take a 25% cut in your benefit. Now that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. You're going to get the COLA adjustments, but your benefit is going to be cut by 25%. And that is something to look at. And at the end, I have some slides that give numbers, more credence to it. But I think an important thing is that when you hit 62, is to realize if I take early retirement, my benefits are going to be reduced. Now, what is the full retirement age? Because this is really important. And as I go through the outline, it's important to understand when your full retirement, when you hit full retirement. Now, it used to be age 65, but for most of us now, well, if you're born between 1937 and 1942, let's say you're born in 1942, it's 65 and 10 months. If you're born in 1943 to 1954, it's 66. So your full retirement date is 66. That's what I'm going to use tonight as I'm talking. This nifty little chart gives your full retirement date, but on the far right, that's what you're going to lose if you start taking Social Security at age 62. So coming back to the group I'm targeting tonight, if you're 43, 54 age, that bracket being born, your deduction is going to be 25%, which is significant. The other thing too, when you think about going to Social Security, a lot of factors have to come into play. First of all, your health, good, bad, or different. If you're married, the health of your spouse. Do you intend to work? Do you do not intend to work? What other resources that you have? So it's really important to analyze these various aspects of factors before you make your decision, because you need to try to ensure to have enough money to continue your retirement income until hopefully into the 90s. You can start taking Social Security at age 62, or you can wait up to age 70. Now you can wait forever if you wanted to. But what's significant in that bracket is that the longer you wait, the greater your benefit. Between 60, if you're born in 1943, between age 62 and age 66, your benefit is going to grow by roughly 7%. From 66 to age 70, your benefit is going to grow by 8%. Now, if you think about it as an investment, and that's why I look at Social Security. If I do not take my Social Security, so I'm leaving that money in there, my investment, let's say I turn 66, is going to grow by 6%. Today, in the market that we have, CDs and other assets, I'm going to have a hard time finding an investment that's going to give me 8%, plus it's giving me a COLA. So if inflation was 3% and they jumped the COLA by 3% in a given year, that means I really gained 11% in my investment. So that is something to look at. Now, the other thing that happens, particularly if somebody keeps on working, a lot of my clients, my younger clients, when they toward the end of the 50s into the 60s, are their high production years. I mean, they're hitting high income. Now, what Social Security does is look at 35 years of employment. They take your best 35 years. So if I'm at 62 and I'm really doing well and I'm working and my income is up, if I can continue to work, I may knock out a couple bad years, like maybe when I got out of college, or maybe at some point I was unemployed because my employer went out of business or changing jobs. So many things happen, but I had the opportunity to knock out lower years, which also increase my benefits. So as you're considering whether or not to take at 62 or some later date, all these factors come into play. But the main thing to keep in mind, the longer you wait until age 70, your benefit is going to grow by 70%. It makes at age 70, it doesn't make sense not to take your Social Security, because the only benefit you're going to get will be COLA, because after that point, you have no further growth. So let me give you an example. Let's say at 62, your benefit is $758. If you wait to age 70, your benefit is $1,312. Now, the big thing is what we call the crossover point. When are you made whole? So if I were to take my benefit at age 62 or wait until age 70, my crossover point, based on this projection, would be 81. At 81, I have received as much in benefits as I would have if I took it at age 62. I mean, if I waited to age 66, then took it at age 81, I would receive as many benefits. The big thing is that, first of all, my benefits are a lot larger, plus my COLA adjustments are going to be larger because it's on a bigger amount. For example, if my Social Security was $1,000 a month, and if I waited to age 70, it's going to be, let's say, $2,000. I'm a bad mathematician. That's why Brian helps me ever so often, because the numbers is not my forte necessarily. And the COLA adjustment is 3%. So on $1,000, that would be $300. On $2,000, That's $600. So next year my payment would be $2,600 as opposed to $1,300. $30 as opposed to $60. But you can see as you go forward that the large amount is going to grow higher. The other thing to remember, if you're married, your wife or your spouse can pick the higher of Social Security, either theirs or their deceased spouse. Now, one thing, and I do a lot of planning with senior citizens, and one thing that gets lost is that, particularly for older individuals, if one spouse dies, particularly if it's the husband, the wife may lose, she's going to lose one income. She's going to lose one of the Social Securities, and typically she's going to drop the lower one. But she may also lose a pension income if the husband was receiving a pension that was a life pension. So often a spouse can have a drastic drop in income when their spouse dies. However, with Social Security, the unique thing again, it's a joint annuity. So if my Social Security was $2,000 a month, my wife's Social Security was $1,000 a month, I go to that great big probate court in the sky where lawyers go, she can take my $2,000 benefit. So it will continue over her life expectancy. As I go through, again, it's really important for couples, particularly, to sit down and talk about what they want to do. For example, I and my wife are both 62, and my wife decides to take her Social Security, but I'm going to work. I'll get on a little bit later, but if I earn too much money, I'm going to eliminate her Social Security, plus the other possibility because of taxes. So you need, if you're couples, to have a joint plan, because that's a rude revelation when you realize that sometimes the way your benefits can be cut back. But again, as I mentioned, each year that you keep working, your benefits are going to grow. Again, let me re-emphasize that, because this has happened for myself, is that in my I was going through my own Social Security, and back a number of years ago, a couple years I didn't work. I didn't work very much, so my income was low, but my higher years now are replacing those years, which is helping my overall benefit, down the road. So what I was alluding to was the income limits. If you at 62 take Social Security, if you earn more than $13,560, for every $2 you earn, you're going to lose $1. So the benefit's going to be cut back. Now, my friend Jimmy coming in, we were talking to him about Social Security. I say, hey, Jim, are you really going to stop working? And he said, well, I can't tell you what he said, but, had no intention of packing it in because going in. But what would happen in his situation, all his Social Security the benefits would be taken away. And of course, the other thing to keep in mind is that potentially your Social Security may be taxable and have a slide that deals with that. The year that you would reach your full retirement age, that will be, tonight I'm using 66, that year you can earn up to $36,120. Anything above that, only 1/3 of your benefits reduced. So if you earn $3, $1 is reduced. Once you get past the full retirement age, then you can earn as much money as you want, and your benefit's not going to be cut back. Again, for spouses, it's really important to look at it if you're contemplating taking Social Security, to make sure that you're not going to sign up and turn around and lose some of the benefit because either one of you are making too much money. Or, of course, if one spouse gets beyond the full retirement age, then it's not going to be a problem. Paying back Social Security. This is a redo. I didn't realize this until one of my clients came in and asked me, and I'm just absolutely fascinated, with us going back in. You can pay back Social Security. So let's say I retired at age 62, and I take my Social Security, and unless I just set that money aside and have other cash, at age 66, I can pay it back. No interest. It's dollar for dollar. So if Social Security paid me, let's say, $60,000, I can pay back the $60,000 and get the benefit I would have gotten at 66 had I not taken my Social Security at age 62. Now, for couples in certain situations, this can be very useful planning. And that's why, again, I look at it as an annuity. Because many times, and I've had clients also, the elderly clients, the big concern of a husband is when I die, my wife is going to lose my Social Security, she's going to lose, or we're going to lose one Social Security, and she's going to lose my pension. How do we keep a certain amount of income? Well, I don't want to sound morbid, but one thing is that maybe if the wife is really good condition, really healthy, is pay back Social Security, get the higher benefit, so the spouse can take that. I have some slides, a little more detail on that, the factors. I mean, in other words, it all depends upon your situation. But if you got the money, let's say talk about gross money, if Social Security has paid you, let's say $60,000, and you paid your tax, and you invested it, you're probably you might be fairly close. But the jump up, I mean, because basically, the way I look at it, in my simple mind, is that if I pay it back, I'm getting paid 8%. Well, from 62 to 66, roughly 7% return on my money. So if I've invested it over here, and I got some gain, I got the other gain, it may make economic sense. You have to crunch the numbers. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's there. It's understanding that this is an opportunity for me to perhaps enhance my income. And what's really important about that, and I can't emphasize this because dealing with many other clients, it took a while for it to sink in, but the COLA, because unlike other investments, I'm guaranteed to a certain degree my Social Security is going to go up, because as cost of living goes up, my Social Security is going up. And I have a slide toward the end which maybe emphasizes what I'm talking about, but I'm looking at a base income. So I'm able to lock in base retirement income that's going to hopefully keep up with inflation. I mean, that's debatable, but it is going to grow, unlike some other investments that may not grow. But let's talk widows and widowers. I mean, let's say the wife dies. In fact, this is what actually started me talking more about Social Security, because one of my clients came to me, his wife had died, and we talked about Social Security, and he said, Bob, can I take my wife's Social Security? Because he's actually was over 60, and I said, I don't know. I think so. I mean, I don't know. So I went to the statute, took a look at it. Yes. And what's interesting, though, by doing that, if you've been married for 10 years, and you're over, and also for divorced spouses, the same, you can take your spouse's Social Security, your deceased spouse. But what's interesting, it doesn't adversely affect your Social Security. Now, I'll get into the play. Now, there's two benefits, and you need to understand how it works. There is the dependency benefit. Now, when you take the dependency benefit, which can be up to 50% of your spouse, these are living spouses, if you take Social Security early, it's going to adversely affect, your 25% reduction is also going to affect your dependency benefits coming from your living spouse. But if your spouse dies, then you have a spousal benefit. New ball game. There you get to take the whole thing. So you need to understand the terminology as you begin to put it together. But in this case, the spouse could take the Social Security and let his grow. This is one of the problems, the reason I've become a lot more talking about Social Security, because there's too many people advocating taking Social Security at age 62. For some people that may work, but other people, you got to understand the haircut you're taking. And I may be cheap, but losing 25%, off the top gets my attention. I mean, and also with spouses. I mean, in other words, there's other benefits. It could affect me all through my retirement years. But anyway, a deceased spouse, if your spouse is deceased at age 60, you can start taking their Social Security. And if you're divorced and your ex-spouse is deceased, the same thing. But you're going to take a reduced benefit. Now, I didn't include all the other people because I'm mainly talking about senior, citizens in this area. So what would happen if at age 60, and you take your deceased spouse's Social Security, you're going to lose. It's only going to be 71.5%, and it's a graduated scale, so it increases. But again, you got to look at your particular situation. It may be good to take it because you're not adversely affecting your Social Security. And if you need the income, coming in, let's say you have a lot of passive income. I mean, you have a pension income, you have rental property, and et cetera. This may not be a bad idea because there's more income coming in because you're not adversely affecting your income. If you wait to full retirement age, the surviving spouse, then you're going to get 100% of the benefits. But if you take it before then, you're going to have reduction. But if you're letting yours grow, that may be a great idea. So it depends on who has the bigger benefit. And it's just a matter of economics, using calculators and crunching the numbers. And I've been looking at a couple of programs that nice little graphs and colors and this and that, to show how it works, because you really got to sit down and calculate the numbers to see if it works for you or if it doesn't work for you. But the main thing if you wait to full retirement age and then you take your deceased spouse's Social Security, you're going to get 100% of it. So you got to be careful as you tap in, because you may or may not want to take a reduced benefit, because the reduction is 25% or whatever is substantial. If you remarry before age 60, you lose the right. If your spouse dies and remarry, you lose the right to take your deceased spouse's Social Security, even if you're caring for a child. If you remarry after 60, you do not lose the benefit to take your former spouse's Social Security. And after age 62, you can shop. You can take benefits for your current spouse, you can take benefits for your deceased spouse, but you have the option to look at the various benefits that you might be able to take. This is what I call the dependency benefits we're talking about. Again, now this is different than the survivor's benefit. We have living spouses, or if you're divorced, your spouse is still living. And have a graduated scale. At age full retirement, you get 50%. If you take 62, you get 35%. So it pays looking at whether it's advantageous to do it, because on these benefits, once you get the reduction, that's with you for the rest of your life, unless you're able to switch into another benefit. The only increase you're going to get is a COLA increase. Divorced spouses, once you reach age 62, your spouse is still living. You've been married 10 years and you've been divorced for 2 years. Now, if your spouse has already been taking Social Security, you don't have to wait. You can take your divorced spouse's Social Security. And it does not adversely affect your divorced spouse. And also, unlike taking your spouse's Social Security, living spouse, it makes no difference whether or not your divorced spouse is taking their Social Security. You have the right to take it. And it's probably quite upsetting. I don't do divorce law, thank God. But I can see some people really being upset. After all that, and you're taking my Social Security? But it's not costing anybody anything. But from a planning standpoint, it's an opportunity then to let your own benefits grow. If you remarry, you lose the right to take your ex-spouse's Social Security, but if you get divorced or your new spouse dies, then you can go back and perhaps. But if you marry and then your ex-spouse, you get divorced, or your new spouse dies, then you have the opportunity to shop around a little bit. And for some particular women who have not worked, this could be a big benefit, to be able to tie into a higher Social Security. The only divorce advice I have, actually, I've only ever had one conversation on this. I don't do divorce law. It's a amenable couple. I don't understand why they wanted to get divorced. I mean, I don't know what the problem was, but I suggested, because they're close to being married 10 years, to wait at 10 years, because then the spouse could get the Social Security. And these people, different lifestyle. I mean, they get divorced, they still live together. And actually, my observation is they're happier divorced living together than they were married living together. I don't understand, but nor do I ask. But anyway, my only divorce advice, because I avoid divorce or matrimonial like a blue-eyed plague. I mean, if you want to see my eyes glass over and I get looking really stupid, just begin to ask me about divorce. The other thing, if you're disabled, if possible, you should try to take SSD rather than taking early Social Security, because your SSD is pegged to what your Social Security would be. Of course, you got to go through the whole process of getting SSD, or Social Security Disability Insurance, but it's well worth doing it if you are disabled rather than to tap into your Social Security. Now, one planning technique is talked about a lot, and it works in certain circumstances. If the wife particularly has the lower Social Security, and she takes Social Security at age 62, and the husband waits until age 68 or 70 and let theirs grow. Now, and it really works the best is where the husband's Social Security is going to be quite high and the wife is going to be quite low, and they're not going to be other income, or the husband is beyond full retirement age. So he's still working, but if he's beyond full retirement age, then his income is not going to adversely affect his wife's Social Security. So that's one approach. What's the maximum benefits? It makes no difference. I mean, the max you're going to get is, for 2008, $2,185. A couple questions, and this had been asked me, so I decided to put them in. Spouse is not receiving Social Security. Can I get benefit based on my spouse's earnings and my spouse hasn't yet filed for Social Security? And the answer is no. So it's really important if you're looking at tapping into your spouse's Social Security, they have to be taking Social Security before you can get their Social Security. Well, the big exception, I'll hit it again, is if you're divorced, then the answer is yes, you can tap into your spouse's Social Security. However, if you're age 62, you need to realize that one of the problems, of course, with Social Security, let me re-emphasize it, that's why I call it annuity, it's a life annuity. When the heart stops, it stops. But it's something to look at with longevity. And the question in the back, again, looking at your spouse, you're locking in a higher benefit. And that's where sometimes, I really like the redo, because if I'm really ill and I want to protect my spouse and my spouse is younger and healthy, I might want to pay back Social Security and get a bigger benefit. So when I die, my spouse is going to have a larger benefit. Next question. Spouse is collecting Social Security. Can I get a reduced benefit on my benefit and then switch to my full spouse benefit at full retirement age? And the answer is no. Now wait, the spouse is still alive. So we're talking about dependency benefits. What you're going to get is a pro rata share. You're going to get your 25% reduction. Let me give an example. Let's say the spouse was $2,000, yours would have been $1,000. You take early retirement, so you're getting $750. I hope this gentleman in the back, because I didn't bring a calculator. Bad example. It's going to say 750. Well, anyway, that's why I'm a lawyer. The problem is that you're going to take a lower benefit. Now, when your spouse dies, different story, because then you're under a different set of rules. So can I claim my benefit 62 and my husband earnings, and then claim benefits based on my earnings? This is a spit off the other. So let's say a person is trying to claim their husband's half of their benefit under the dependency and let theirs grow. They got living spouses. It doesn't work. Because what Social Security does is look at your benefit, looks at what you're entitled to your spouse, and that's what you get. It's not going to increase your benefits. Spouse is not receiving benefits, but can I claim reduced benefit my earnings and then step up to the spouse benefits when my husband retires at full retirement? And the answer is yes. But again, it's going to be a reduced benefit, but you can step up. But when the spouse dies, then it's going to step up. If a spouse takes a deceased spouse Social Security benefit before retirement age and then want to switch to their own, they can. Now, the other aspect of this question is, if I take my early Social Security, my spouse dies, let's say after full retirement benefit, I can take their full benefit. Well, actually, I had a slide. I'm getting ahead of myself. Is that if I take my own benefits and then my spouse dies and their benefits are higher, I can take their benefits, the higher benefits. Divorced spouse, if I take my benefit for retirement benefits, can I switch to my own benefits at full retirement? And the answer is yes. I'm going to get my full benefit. Let me talk a little bit, and I got some slides to expand on a little bit what I'm talking about. To me, there are 3 stages of retirement. Can you hear me okay in the back yet? Okay. The accumulation phase, preservation, and distribution phase of planning. And I'm kind of looking at more of a estate planning concept. I think a lot of attention is put onto the accumulation, but what is not looked at is the preservation stage or the distribution stage of your retirement and your estate. Because normally, in my mind, it ties together. In the preservation stage, I call it the fragile years of retirement. Generally about 5 years before retirement and about 5 years after retirement. You need to not only do asset allocation to protect assets, but also risk allocation to try to build a solid base so that if you get hit, you're not going to drop below a certain level. What fascinates me, what got me thinking about this, I went to a great seminar about 2 years ago, and they're talking about the stock market. And you've probably all seen the graph up and down. And if you stay in the market long enough, you're going to be okay, which is true, in my opinion. The problem I got thinking about it, looking at, well, suppose, like in 2001, that was my year to retire. I pull money out, and I start taking money out, and the market goes down. Well, if I didn't do anything, I'll be fine. but I'm pulling money out. So actually, I'm reducing the money that's there to grow. So from a retirement standpoint, have hopefully that clarifies a little bit, is the locking in or protecting, building a solid floor. And Social Security is one of the tools, I think, it does that. And the distribution stage, particularly if you got other assets, retirement programs, IRAs and so forth, to look at the tax consequences and to be tax smart doing it. This I plagiarized from Brian. We need to look at our assets, and what we're trying to do is protect our assets as much as possible to produce the retirement income that would deal with our expenses and debt through lifetime. So you need to take a holistic look at your plan. One of the problems I see too often, people have narrow vision. They're just looking at one piece of their overall puzzle. They're not putting it all together and making their assets work, or trying to protect some assets while being more aggressive with other assets. One thing I've noticed, like with, let's say mutual funds, let's say you want aggressive growth, but you decide you're going to diversify by buying this mutual fund family and this one over here. But if your style is aggressive growth, and you start looking at the major holdings of the mutual funds you're buying, sometimes you'll find you're not diversified. You're across the board, you're too aggressive. So it pays to look at your different assets. And also coming back, retirement plan, like for example, I have IRAs here. You might want to look at make sure you can do a stretch IRA. You can also do a stretch annuity. Financial seesaw, again, at retirement age, is that you want to try to have a balance. Is that you want to try to preserve your assets while at the same time letting your assets grow. So you want to be too conservative, but you don't want to be too wide-eyed and bushy-tailed either, because you're in that time frame where you need to kind of have a balanced approach. And this I also plagiarized from Brian, but I modify it a little bit. A foundation. And on the bottom I got immediate annuity or Social Security, because I'm thinking of somebody, you need cash flow, you want money coming in. This is what you might look at. And then you begin to move up a little bit, the variable annuities or equity index annuities, and then mutual funds and new investment trusts and stock. And of course, as you move into some of these other assets, they're more aggressive. They may give you a greater return, but also there's greater risk. So you need to have kind of a balanced program and to build a platform. Let me now, if I can do this, let me go to a different slide. Issues are coming back with taxation of Social Security. In 1993, they changed the law, and if you make too much money, your Social Security becomes taxable. That kind of runs the wrong way in my brain, because they never gave us a tax deduction for taking the money, and either under certain circumstances they're going to tax me to get this money back. So I kind of view that as a double tax, and I can think about the Boston Tea Party and so forth. But however, from low old water relief, I don't think we're going to change the world. So anyway, they come up with a concept called provisional income. Now there's a whole bunch of other things added back in, but the two big ones that get added back in is tax-exempt interest, and half of your Social Security is added back in. So let's look at the various brackets. If you're a single person and your income is under $25,000, no problem. If you're a married couple and it's under $32,000, no tax. But if your provisional income is above $25,000 for a single person, or above $32,000 up to either $34,000 or $44,000, 50% is added back in. If you're above that, 85% is added back in. So let's see how this works. We meet Mary. Mary has $12,000 Social Security income, or $1,000 a month. She gets $1,250 from her pension plan. She works a little bit. She has interest income of $5,500, and she's in a 30% tax bracket. So we're going to add back into a provisional income 50% of her Social Security along with her other investments. So what do we come up with? $28,000. Now what's interesting here, Mary income is $22,000, but when the Social Security is added back in, it drives up to $28,000, which gives Mary excess income of $3,000. So she's triggered 50% of her Social Security being taxable. So how do we figure this? Well, the rules is that it's 50% of your excess income or 50% of your Social Security. So Mary's excess income is $3,000, and her Social Security is $12,000 or $6,000. So $1,500 being less than $6,000. I'm right? We're going to pay tax on the $1,500. which works out because of the 30% tax bracket, $450. So can Mary do anything to get around this? Well, what she can do, she can put money into a deferred annuity. Now, with a tax-deferred annuity, is that the income is growing, but it's not showing up in your 1040. So it's going to reduce your taxable income. So let's recalculate. We have Mary before we shift the $3,000 of income over. But by shifting $3,000 away, we drop her down to $2,500, which means her Social Security is no longer taxable. I've talked to clients, I just love it, because a lot of senior citizens come in and they, oh, Bob, I'm paying tax on my Social Security. What can I do? And I tried to explain, some of this interface, but verbally it's hard to do it. I like this. I haven't actually got my hands on this. I haven't had a chance to talk to somebody, but it really explains how you can reduce it. So by Mary simply putting enough assets into a deferred annuity to drop her income down to $3,000, down to $25,000, she eliminates tax on Social Security. Now her total tax savings is $1,350. So the question is, and I hope my mathematician is watching me, he said, wait a minute, Wolff. Before you told me $450, now you're saying $1,350. Where does the money come from? Well, what we saved was $450 on her tax she would have paid, but also a tax-deferred annuity is tax-deferred. So the $3,000 of income inside the tax-deferred annuity at 30% is $900. You put the two together, then Mary has saved $1,350. So her deferred annuity hopefully is growing substantially, tax-deferred, and she's eliminated the tax on her Social Security, which I've been able to do several times with clients over the past, is let's say Mary really needs the $3,000 of cash flow to live. What she can also do is buy an immediate annuity that gives her cash flow coupled with a deferred annuity. Now with immediate annuity, today it wouldn't be that high, but no more than typically than 30% of what she receives is taxable income. That goes on her 1040. The rest of it is return of principal, which is not taxable. So she can receive the same cash flow, have the money to spend, but drop under the radar screen to have her Social Security tax. So there's different things you can do. Moving on. I talked about the delay and payback and so forth. Let me revisit delaying taking Social Security. Again, it's this age I really wanted to address, 43 to 54. And if you wait taking Social Security, your benefit's going to grow 6 to 8%. So let's meet Bill. Bill reminds me of my client, Jimmy. In fact, if I did this, I would call him Jimmy because Bill is thinking about taking Social Security at age 62, age 66, or age 70. If he takes it at age 62, he's going to get $12,000 a year. If he waits to age 66, he's going to get $16,332 a year. So simply by waiting, he's going to gain $4,332 a year. Now his crossover point is 78. So if Bill waits until age 66 to start taking Social Security, and he hangs in there and takes the vitamins to age 78, then he's exactly where he would be if he took Social Security at 62. But the thing to keep in mind is that his benefit and his COLAs are going to be based on the higher amount. So it's going to be going up faster than if he took it earlier. Let's say Bill waits until age 70. His benefit jumps to $22,020. Now, where this I think is important for people to look at is when the individual is continuing to work, you're going to work. So you're not having the problems with your benefits be cutting back or taxable income. But by waiting until age 70, as opposed to taking benefits at age 62, Bill has picked up an additional $10,020 a year. Now, for you guys, that may be chump change, but where I'm from, that has my attention. Because that's going to be for the rest of my life, and it's going to grow at the COLA rate, so it's going to grow faster. And what Bill would receive, based on this calculation, during that period would be $110,000, which I'll come back to. Now, if Bill was married, upon death, his wife gets to pick the greater of her own Social Security or Bill's Social Security. So let's say we have Bill dying at age 82. And this is really significant to follow the numbers going through. If Bill and Ruth take benefits at age 62, they're both going to receive $12,000. At age 82, Ruth's benefits would have grown to $20,070 using the formula they're using here. They have a slightly different calculation. But anyway, that means Bill's benefit is $20,700. You put the two together, then they're receiving $41,400. Now, if Bill, based on this calculation, waits to age 70 to take his benefits, he's getting $26,000. At age 82, he's getting $36,000. Now, when Bill dies, Ruth is able to step up and take his $36,000. Now, put yourself in Ruth's shoes. If both she and Bill had retired and took benefits at age 62, they're receiving $41,400. Her income is dropping to $20,700. But by Bill waiting or doing a payback possibility to increase his benefit, Ruth is going to get $36,444, which leaves her pretty much in the same spot she would have been in had they both retired at age 62. So for couples, it really pays to plan, to look at what you're doing, and also keep in mind this could have been a payback, or Bill could have waited. Now, there's another little twist here. Let's say they have retirement income, because it works the best, retirement income. So Ruth here retires, is getting $12,000, and Bill decides to wait. Bill can take half of Ruth's Social Security and let his grow, which means he's getting $500 a month, $6,000 a year, which helps. And that also reduces the crossover point when you add that money, back in. So it depends upon the dynamics in the family, the financial, where they are financially. But by Bill waiting, his investments are growing by 8%, but he's still taking money from Ruth, so they still have money coming in. The same thing would have happened. And here they're using this example. I didn't prepare, but age, basically was saying at age 66, they would have around 16,000. So she retires at age 62 is 12,000. But if she waited to age 66, she got the bigger benefit. Or if she waited to age 70, she even got the larger, benefit. But what it comes back to is really what's going on. I mean, somebody's working, not working, growing other assets. Because, they're saying age 65 is a new 55 or something like that. Age 70 is a new 50. Yeah, well, we're feeling better. We're living better. We're healthier. Unless something's got it. What I've observed is, for males anyway, if you get past 50 and something bad hasn't happened to you, you probably got a good 20, 25 years. And that's just my observation in dealing with people. I'm not sure about females, but because I've been more, starting to realize like a lot of my buddies, when we got around 50, the ones that died, died. I started to realize, one of my friends is a doctor, we got talking about that, but if you get, for males around mid-40s to 50, is a critical, early 50s is a critical stage. We get past that, you have a long ways to go. Here's another thing, kind of a basic spreadsheet. If you're age 60, let's say you decide to retire at age 61, and you have a bucket of assets of 400,000, and the first couple will probably be annuities with guarantees, but the benefit, let me get down this, we can see the screen a little better, is that what I've done here is rates I know you can get, and I'm assuming the stock market is going to produce 9%, because historically it's done, but well, I won't guarantee today, but historically, if you stay in long enough, for hypothetical, you're probably going to get 9% on that. So again, going back to the pyramid that I had put up, is on the bottom you're going to be looking at Social Security, maybe immediate annuities, maybe some deferred annuities, and then you're going to go into other investments. And now when I come back to annuities, is that the last 10 years, a lot of bells and whistles have been added. In fact, today, for myself, I'm looking at one and I signed up that will guarantee me 7% return for 10 years or until my money doubles, which is good. But there's a caveat. You got to look at the fine print. Is that I got to leave it with the company. But I also have a policy is that if I decide to take my money, they'll give me a guarantee, draw either 5 or 6%, no matter what happens to the principal. And that makes me happy because I wouldn't put the whole farm in there, but a piece in, because when I look in the mirror, I think about 10 years. I'm saying, that's just about my time frame where I might want to start drawing that down, because with this volatile market the way it's going, who knows? I mean, in other words, we may come bounding back right away. We may not come bounding back. But the thing to do is look at some of the guarantees that these insurance companies are willing to sell you for a price. And the price is typically, but I look at it as insurance. If it's worth it, it's worth it. If it's not worth it, then don't touch it. For example, some of the companies have a death benefit. And if you're 84, for example, and you're going to buy an annuity because you want the guaranteed death benefit, most only go to 85. And after that, they don't lock it in, so it's not worth doing. So you got to put it. But anyway, this one conceptually, further aspects. You're age 61. You think about retiring. You've got to look at all investments. Do I need the money now? Do I need the money someday down the road? Do I need maybe the money never? So you need to look at when you think you want the money. Now, with annuities, most will allow you to draw 10%. But you need to ask, and I always ask, what is the period of time, the penalty period for me if I take my money out too soon? Because sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. You need to know what that is. Now, the other thing, too, because I deal a lot with senior citizens, you might want to make sure the company has a nursing home waiver, because that's a big one that comes up with senior citizens. But in my case, this is money I'm not going to touch for 10 years. So I'm not really, I'm trying to stay on time. This gets conceptual, looking at what you can do with investments, move around different pots. And what is significant of this, if I, age 76, if I reallocated my assets, I received $391,000, but my $400,000 is still intact. Now, it's also I find conceptual when talking to clients, the benefit of waiting, if you're going to keep on working, is the same numbers, except I'm not going to take it until I'm age 61. The accounts grow, and I think these numbers are conservative. What the assets will grow. Now, what I find interesting, going back to the payback, and why I pick a given age, this line here, at age, if you take 65, at age 70, let's say I took my Social Security. I'm like this gentleman with a green shirt. I'm not going to gamble. But let's say I put in an investment. Investment has grown at 9%. And my Social Security benefit's grown at 7%. If I take and pay back, like an example with Bill, I pay back the $110,000. I drop this back down to $128,000 roughly. But I started off with $109,000. But I'm getting on my Social Security, I'm going to get roughly around 9% return. So again, it depends upon my health, my condition, my family condition, and all that. Because the other thing I might want to say, to hell with it, I'm not going to give back. I'm not going to pay back Social Security. I'm going to keep the money, because Social Security is a life annuity, and if I die, then my kids don't get it. But it gives you the option to look at that particular time to make a decision, because you're locking yourself in, and you can go several ways. Well, this brings me to the end of my slide presentation.